Pledge of Allegiance.
For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, it's October 15th. We're in the Ed Bosch Freilich meeting room of the Mandan City Hall. This is the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's 1:30. We'll call the meeting in order. If we can call roll, please.
Mayor Berglund.
Here.
Commissioner Zachmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Freilich.
Here.
Commissioner Schwab. Commissioner Schwab. Commissioner Schwab. Here. And Chair Schmitz.
Here. First item on our agenda is review and approve the minutes from September 17th, 2024. Are there any changes, or can I get a motion to approve?
I would motion to approve.
Second. We have a first and a second. Are there any discussion, or is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Mayor Berglund.
Yes.
Commissioner Zachmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Freilich.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab. Chair Schmitz.
Yes. Next item 4 is the Bismarck-Mandan MPO monitoring report update. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. If you'll give me one moment, I will share a screen with you. All right, so Exhibit A in your packet, or beginning on page 9, is an invitation for bids that the MPO has prepared for an update to its monitoring report. The MPO monitoring report provides a comprehensive understanding of existing conditions and recent trends which influence transportation within the MPO area. So it provides the public and our jurisdictions with statistics on people, housing, employment, and travel in our region. It has been over 5 years since we were last able to update the report, so we are planning to hire a consultant for the 2025 year to update the data and format of the report. Also, as part of the project, we will evaluate what future monitoring report updates look like, whether that would be best handled through a recurring contract or through in-house staff training. The intent of the update is to provide the public and our jurisdictions with a relevant educational and interesting resource to complement the MPO's existing studies and projects. So this project has a not-to-exceed budget of $40,000. If it is approved, it will be incorporated into our 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, which is going to be presented next on the agenda. And we would proceed with solicitation, selection of a firm, and contract negotiations that are outlined in Exhibit A. I will note that for purchases of $10,000 to $50,000, such as this one, the procurement standards we operate under require us to solicit proposals from at least 3 vendors. We have at least 6 consultants currently in mind to solicit for this project locally, and we will select one based on project criteria outlined under Section C, Selection and Approvals. Bids for the project would be due to our office by November 6th, and we intend to execute a contract with the firm we select by early 2025. This timeline I will note, and we are going to add a note to the document stating this. It's based on the availability of federal funding. At TAC yesterday, the NDDOT representative noted that we have to make sure to notate that contracts can't be signed until federal funding is released in the 2025 year. So the update would then be completed within the 2025 calendar year, and I would be the project manager. Are there any questions from the board on this update?
Board members, any questions? What would be your wishes? I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Mayor Berglund? Mayor Berglund, are you still online?
I can see her video. It's not muted, no.
Mayor Berglund, we can't hear you. Okay, well. Commissioner Zachmeyer?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, she has her hand up.
Okay.
Yes, Mayor?
Was just trying to see if it worked or not.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Mayor Freilich?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab?
Yes.
Chair Schmitz?
Yes. Next item is draft 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. Rachel.
Thank you, Chair and Policy Board members. I would like to direct you to Exhibit B in the packet, page 18, for a review of our draft 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, or what we call UPWP. The UPWP is the MPO office's expected budget and list of activities for the calendar year of 2025, and in compliance with the schedule set forth by NDDOT, we are requesting consideration of the 2025 work program this month for eventual formal consideration and finalization by NDDOT and Fed Highway by the end of the year. We have a few new members on our policy board who may not be very familiar with prior versions of our UPWP. So I'll go through the document and notate any items that are brand new, but I won't dwell on items that are from past documents because you simply don't have a lot of reference for that. What I can share with you, though, is that we've added several new elements to our work program document, and these are at the request of Federal Highways to bring us more in line with best practices. Several of the items that we've added include a resolution of adoption, which is on page 19 of your packet. And Mayor Berglund, I apologize. Let me share screen so that you can follow along with this as well.
And I do have it with me.
Oh, great. Well, I suppose then for our listening public.
Okay, sure.
So we did include a resolution of adoption that, if approved by Policy Board today, would include the date of resolution and signature by the Policy Board Chair and attestation by myself. Additionally, we are including now lists of board memberships for both TAC and Policy Board. We do list only the job title, not the individual person. In the off chance that names were to change, we would not then need any type of revision or amendment to the document.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, is there a question, Mayor?
No.
Okay. Also, according to best practices, we now include a list of our TAC and Policy Board dates, as well as a notice on when the meetings start. And we have adjusted for the January and February dates as TAC typically lands on a holiday, a federal holiday that is, and offices are closed. So for those two dates, I have adjusted those that the meetings will be on the same dates. The remainder of the text of the document has been updated throughout. We update our accomplishments for the 2024 year. We also update the expected planning studies for the coming year. And then there's also quite a bit of discussion about how this document looks and feels different from prior documents. Starting last year, we moved to a one-year UPWP. However, there was considerable formatting changes in this 2025 document, and the purpose of the formatting changes is for staff to better track our time and better track our spending. So for the sake of our time, I won't dwell on much more of the text, but I do want to give an overview of how staff plans to break out our time and our spending. Our UPWP is now divided into 4 sections. 3 of those 4 sections have allocated funds to spend from. The first of these sections is called Task 101, and I title this Administration. The activity and funding dedicated to Task 101 will cover all staff salaries and benefits. And it also covers all of the generalized activities that MPO staff perform during a calendar year. From year to year, as the UPWP is updated, our list of activities will be reviewed and refreshed as needed. But overall, you can see that we've listed out all of our federally mandated documents, such as the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the Transportation Improvement Plan, of course, this UPWP update, transportation planning studies, our work with Bismarck Transit, and then additional items that our office routinely updates throughout the year in terms of documents, and then liaisoning with your staff, liaisoning with NDDOT, and performing the functions of the office. So the conclusion of Task 101 is a brief summary of the timeline for those tasks. And because the majority of MPO staff activity waxes or wanes throughout the year, no 2 months are exactly the same, I did constrict our schedule to those major documents, the TIP, the UPWP, the MTP, as well as our planning studies. There was discussion at the TAC meeting yesterday regarding a proposed or planned rollout of planning studies. Because we are now confined to one planning grant within a calendar year, and our funds, that is our federal funds, do not transfer automatically to the forthcoming year, it is my intention that our MPO planning studies will be completed within that 12-month calendar year. But as you can surmise, if we're completing a study within 12 months, we need to start early and we need to be prepared ahead of time. So for that reason, I do propose that our MPO staff will be preparing RFPs in the summertime generally. We'll be going through contract negotiations and interview processes in the fall time generally, so that we are able to start our planning studies or complementary contractual obligations as close to the first of the year as practical. We don't say that we must start every project at the first of the year, but we'd like to see them started in January or February to give consultants the maximum amount of time to do their work and spend down our funds. NDDOT cautioned us against this system because in the case that our federal funding does not come at the first of the year, consultants naturally would not be able to begin their work. There would be no reimbursable activity. It's everyone's hope that this will not come to fruition, but in an abundance of care and concern, NDDOT did express that our pre-planning might might be received with a few wrinkles. And as our process moves forward, as we work through this process, we'll find those wrinkles. We'll work to adjust as needed. After considerable length on Task 101, I'll now talk about Task 102, where prior we were discussing staff activities and the entirety of staff activities. Task 102 is dedicated to any contractual obligation that the MPO embarks upon. Those contractual obligations receive local match from your jurisdictions. These could be planning studies, they could be data acquisitions, they could be something more minor, such as Stephen's monitoring report update, any item where the MPO funds are flowing out to another professional organization for them to do work on behalf of the MPO is included in Task 102. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about what those planned activities are, we do have a table dedicated to that effort. In your packet, this is page 36. And you'll see that we have a considerable list of projects that we're planning to continue or start in the new year. We have a description of that effort and then also a target start or end date of that project. I will also note that in this task, as well as the preceding task, we have allocated certain funds for an element known as Complete Streets funding. The federal government has passed a regulation where 2.5% of our federal funds must go towards an eligible Complete Streets activity. Kim leads our bicycle pedestrian subcommittee that works with TA applications and walk audits in the year. Her activities, her time is Complete Streets eligible for that, those actions. Also, we have two studies where we believe we may be able to spend Complete Streets funds. The first is the 2025 Safety Policies Study, which will be discussed at this meeting, and then also a traffic count collection, which is counting cars and pedestrians at signalized intersections in the area. This will come back in a moment, but I wanted to touch very briefly on the 2.5 Complete Streets amount and to let you know that we are actually spending that money in two task areas and across several activities. Additionally, in Task 102, we have a proposed list of future projects. This was created this year with the help of your planners and engineers, looking at transportation struggles or concerns that they had in the area and trying to devise a list of data or studies that they could potentially like to embark upon. The suggested year for these studies is not a mandate, it's just a suggestion for us to keep in mind. As we look into future years, this list may adjust, new projects may be added, and some projects might be removed. This table was included at the request of NDDOT so that as we are working ahead to start planning studies in the summer and fall of the prior year, that we are actually telling the public which studies we plan to do. This is very important, and if a project is not listed in this document, we're not able to do any type of work on it. So NDDOT has indicated that they're comfortable with this as a solution and will be monitoring that any RFP that goes out is listed in this potential future studies table. The third task of our planning work program is called Capital, Operational, and Travel Expenses. It's essentially any expense that our office incurs in order to run itself. It includes our rental expenses to the city of Bismarck because we pay rent for our offices. We pay portions of parking, pay portions of snow removal, sewer services. We also have supplies that we purchase. Sometimes we need computer updates or chair updates. Additionally, any type of staff travel or subscription that the office is connected to is also included into this. Because it is really a catch-all of additional expenses for our office, I've actually divided this into 4 subcategories, and the subcategories were determined based on the City of Bismarck Financial Department's accounting codes. And the benefit to this is that as the MPO spends our UPWP, Stephen can more accurately track how our UPWP spends with the actual accounting codes for the City of Bismarck's Finance Department. And if we need to adjust funds, we can adjust funds more in sync across those 2 platforms. In the past, they were quite disjointed, but now that the regulation of us tracking our funding is becoming more under scrutiny, we feel that it's going to be to our benefit to match the account codes to this document, and that's what these 4 categories help us to do. So we can spend our funds as staff in rental spaces, rental fees, lodging associated to travel training, any type of office operations such as supplies or computers. Office operations would not be supplies or computers. That would go under number 4. And then addition to number 4 is subscriptions. The MPO has a subscription with AMPO, the American Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's an organization dedicated to preparing information for MPOs across the country. The Government Partners Program that we recently received approval from Fed Highway to participate in, that's also a subscription-based service. So any fees associated to subscriptions are also in office supplies. And although those activities may not appear to be linked very well, it's actually because of the way the codes come together. Remember those City of Bismarck finance codes. And we also have a disclaimer that indicates that any capital purchases that the office undergoes will be in accordance with the procurement policies of the City of Bismarck and NDDOT. So those are our 3 main spending categories and the breakout of our activities. The 4th category, this is the last category of the UPWP, Task 104 is dedicated to complete streets. And you may have gotten a flavor as I was trying to describe complete streets previously that there's a little bit of money in a lot of different places with regards to our activities. So this Task 104 is a way that I can share the full complete streets obligation and then also share exactly where that money is going without it getting broken apart into several task areas where it can be confusing to understand and track. So that is the conclusion of the text portion of the UPWP, and the last element that I would like to share with you is our budget. I handed out for your review an updated budget, and this is the sheet that has no red lettering on it. This is a cleaned version. This is what we would propose for our 2025 calendar year to our oversight. You'll notice at the very top we have our total budget as well as the breakdown of total federal funds, total local funds, and then by jurisdiction how much funding would be requested throughout the year by each jurisdiction. Going down the table, you'll see that there's Task 101 with the line item of wages and benefits, and then a listing of the local partners. Task 102, similarly, listing of local partners by activity. And then on the far right side is just a few notes to help identify how that local share was divided out. Very often when all the jurisdictions participate on a project, the share is broken out by population. But if we have fewer jurisdictions than all 5, that breakout adjusts according to the needs of the study. And then if that project uses complete streets, that is also listed. Finally, we have those 4 categories of office operations. And then in pink, here is the complete streets. You'll see that we have $4,000 set aside for Task 101 associated complete streets, and just over $15,000 dedicated to Task 102 associated complete streets. So this is our bike ped element, and then below that is funds that will go towards planning studies. So the reason that you don't have a previous version of this in your packet is that we were in, when the packet was put together, we were still going back and forth to determine if government partners was federally eligible under the CPG. We have gotten approval from our federal partners and state partners to incorporate that, and so I decided it would be in the MPO's best interest to include the government partners element into our 2025 work program. Since it's a subscription-based service and it's renewed every year, there is a chance that maybe we won't have it expended in 2025. But if we do need it, it's best to have it in now than to try to amend the document later. So I'll take your attention to the second of the handouts that I provided for you, and this is a breakdown of what I did to incorporate and adjust for Government Partners Program. My previous draft budget was full. I was using all of the federal funds, and so the $6,000 that was needed for Government Partners needed to come from other areas within the budget. At the very top of this sheet, you'll see that I took some funding out of our consultant studies, Task 101, in a line item called ATAC modeling. And this is an area that sometimes we use and sometimes we don't. It's handy to have regardless. And it allows the 2 major cities to have model runs completed for them in off years if they have if they're expecting a lot of land development and they want to know how might the model and the future transportation network adjust to that development, we can assist them with that information through our contract with ATAC. And so we always try to set aside some funding to help with those questions, although they don't always come up, and so we don't always use that full amount. That's why I thought this was a safe element to use some of the funding. I took almost $4,000 from that task item, and under task 102, you can see that deduction in red. And then the blue line that has a revised line item, and then the text is in blue. This is the final revised version of ATAC modeling if this amendment is approved. Well, I guess if this adjustment is approved. Of course, $4,000 is not $6,000. The remaining $2,000 I took from the MPO's staff travel training budget. We had a budget of approximately $8,000, and I reduced that by 25%. The reason I chose this item is because sometimes this is an area where it's very easy for the MPO to scale back, and if there's additional funding needed, typically it would come from the travel expenses. So I provide this for your information so you know where that funding comes from, but also to show the subtractions and additions to the local match. Because the previous 2 line items used funds dedicated from the City of Bismarck or the City of Mandan, but the Government Partners Program could potentially use local funds from all 5 jurisdictions. I did a standard population-based breakdown for the purposes of our budget. If in the next month or so we find that we don't have the commitment or the interest from all 5 jurisdictions, it would be very easy for me to adjust these local matches in the final approved version of the 2025 work program. So I thank you for your attention to this. I know it's a lot to take in. A whole year's worth of activity is a lot to share, but I'm happy to take any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have. on the UPWP and next year's planning budget.
Any questions, policy board members? What are your wishes?
If there are no questions, MPO staff would be looking for a motion to adopt by resolution the 2025 UPWP, and that resolution is in the packet. I think it's page 19 specifically.
It is.
Here I have it on the screen for you as well.
I would motion to approve as presented.
Second. We have first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Mayor Berglund,
Yes.
Commissioner Zachmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab,
No.
Chair Schmitz.
Yes. Item 6, the 2025 Safety Policy Study. Rachel?
Thank you, Chair and Policy Board members. I'd like to let you know that last week, Thursday, October 10th, the MPO held interviews for the 2025 Safety Policy Study. Our selection committee consisted of a representative from all 5 of the jurisdictions, and I sat as moderator but not voting on the panel. We held 2 interviews, 1 interview with Bolton and Mank and 1 interview with SRF. And after consideration, the selection committee approved for SRF to be the top-ranked consultant. The MPO staff is requesting approval of SRF for the project, and we're also requesting approval of MPO staff to proceed with contract negotiations and to execute that contract once it's been reviewed and approved by legal teams and our state and federal partners. I handed out to you what is called our QBS letter, and this is a standard form that we provide to indicate all of the different activities we do to go through RFP submittal and contract interviews, consultant interviews. NDDOT has laid out a very specific process that they call qualification-based selection, and this is our letter to indicate to DOT all of the steps that we have done. We provide this letter for your information. It is not something that needs to be approved, but it does get signed before we send it to DOT as a note of official correspondence. So with that, I wanted to share with you the QBS letter and then notify you of SRF's winning of the interview and request that they be approved for the project.
Are there any questions? What are the wishes of the policy board? I recommend approval. Second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Mayor Berglund,
Yes.
Commissioner Zachmeyer, yes. Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwab,
Yes.
Chair Schmitz.
Yes. Next item 7, the Arrive 2050 MTP. Jason Carby?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I have a very brief update today. Essentially, we've developed a draft document summarizing the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and all the work that went into it. It's currently been in a public review period. It's that review period started late last month and is going through next week, October 23rd. We have an online meeting to go with that. So if folks want to learn a little bit more, participate, leave comments, there's an opportunity there. We are preparing for presentations to councils, commissions, planning and zoning in each of the commissions of the jurisdictional partners. basically between here in a week and then the end of the year. So there'll be executive summary and slides available for review in all of the packets coming up. But and then a week from Friday, we have the North Dakota DOT management team. We will be presenting the plan to them. And so, Rachel, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add there, but that's kind of where we sit with the plan. We are in draft phase, working towards getting getting it approved.
Thank you, Jason. I didn't have anything else to add. Does the
questions?
policy board have any questions?
Does not look like it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item 8, Safe Routes to Services Complete Street Study. And is Blue on?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, everybody. I'm on the road, so I'm pulled into a gas station. So promise I'm being safe and not driving. Project's going really well. We had our last steering committee 2 weeks ago where we presented our different locations and some of the alternatives and recommendations on those. But we also have an open house coming up Monday, so we would love to see all of you there. We're going to be presenting all of those. We call them our two-sheeters. They really detail the areas that we're talking about and some of the recommendations that we have for them. And we'll also just be presenting kind of the entire engagement summary, the project up until now. And then you will see me back in December. Both Mike Bittner and I will be coming and doing presentations on the 16th and 17th to TAC and Policy Board as well. But working on the final report right now. And then engagement report really kind of starts flying in November as we've wrapped up that last engagement opportunity. So things are going really well. Excited to bring you some final products on this.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Item 9, 2024 pavement conditions, collections, and analysis. And is it Kurt?
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. As far as the pavement condition project goes, we are in the midst of collecting data for the functionally classified roads throughout the MPO jurisdiction, as well as for the city of Bismarck. We are over a week into the data collection. Everything appears to be going well, and we are looking to complete data collection within the next week and a half. We're currently working with local media to coordinate a show and tell event with local media, and that will be taking place a bit later this week if we can get everything lined up. The rest of the project is we're kind of putting the pieces in place to begin customizing some of the analyses that we'll be performing as part of this effort. And it looks like we're on schedule to finish everything by the end of the year, as promised. So with that, I think that's the end of my update for the time being.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Doesn't appear to be any. Next, item 10, Government Partners Program Update. Kim.
Thank you, Chair Schmitz. Members of the board, the last couple of months we've really heard a lot and talked about the potential of the restoration of passenger rail through our region, beginning with the Federal Railroad Administration long-distance service study and their recommendation of the restoration of the North Coast Hiawatha route being restored, which would bring passenger rail back through Bismarck-Mandan, Burleigh, and Morton counties. And then we heard from Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority. They presented information on their project, which has been accepted into the Federal Corridor ID program. That project, again, is for the restoration of passenger rail running through our region on the former North Coast Hiawatha rail line, which is the current BNSF rail line that runs parallel to I-94 through North Dakota. And then we were made aware of economic benefits, community benefits, and also opportunities and challenges that might be presented to communities in, along, and adjacent to any potential passenger rail service that might be reinstated. Along with those opportunities and challenges, we were made aware of a program that has been developed by Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority. It's called the Government Partner Program. And it's designed to assist communities who may feel impacts of growing pains associated with passenger rail coming to their region in maximizing benefits and mitigating perhaps any potential negative impacts, but basically just making the most out of all the opportunities that might be presented with the restoration of passenger rail. As Rachel mentioned, we have been in negotiations and talks with our state and federal oversight agencies. A couple of weeks ago, they did provide us word that a membership in the GPP or Government Partner Program would be an eligible CPG expenditure. Representatives from the jurisdictions were notified of this, and currently we have efforts underway from those representatives to come before their governing bodies, their city commissions, councils, county commissions, and requesting approval to participate in the Government Partner Program. So as I said, each jurisdiction is being asked or requested to approve this participation. This participation, as Rachel alluded to, would be based on a cost share basis. The total program amount or the total subscription amount for an annual membership is $6,000. The MPO would pay 80% of that, and that would be the $4,800 with the $1,200 local share remaining. That local share, as Rachel showed while she was displaying the UPWP budget information, that local share of $1,200 would be broken out on a population-based formula, just the same way as, say, our MTP or our ATAC type studies are when all jurisdictions participate. However, if less than all 5 jurisdictions approve participation in the GPP, then that $1,200 cost share would have to be adjusted accordingly. Therefore, I did provide a cost breakdown of ranges based on the minimum cost that a jurisdiction would be providing, or the worst case scenario maximum cost should maybe 2 of the higher population-based jurisdictions back out. So those cost ranges are for Bismarck, $720 to $930, Mandan, $240 to $690, Burleigh County, $180 to $660, Morton County, $30 up to $270, and the City of Lincoln, $30 up to $270. Of course, it is our hope that all 5 jurisdictions would wish to participate in this program. We do feel that there are benefits to be gained from participation, but we will not know the final outcome until the end of the month after all commissions and councils have been approached with the request. So far, Burleigh County has approved participation in the program at their $180 minimum participation fee. Should that fee increase for any reason, they have asked that the request be brought back to them. So, along with the request for GPP participation, commissions and councils are also being asked to provide a letter of support to the BSPRA for their Corridor ID project. Again, that is calling for the restoration of passenger rail service of the North Coast Hiawatha Rail that used to pass through Morton, Burleigh, Mandan, and Bismarck. Now, assuming that at least 3 of the 5 jurisdictions do agree to participation in the GPP, then I will seek approval by the MPO's boards to obtain the membership on behalf of the jurisdictions, and I will be doing that at our November 15th meeting, November 19th meeting. Along with that request, I will also have prepared a memorandum of agreement, and that will be an agreement between each of the participating jurisdictions and the MPO, outlining our roles, excuse me, roles and responsibilities within the membership program. That would be approved at the same time as the request for payment for membership. Now, then the MPO would submit the payment for the membership and bill back the appropriate share amounts to each of the jurisdictions. Considering all the time constraints involved with several different meetings, it seems very unlikely that the MPO would be able to complete all these steps and submit membership payment prior to December 1st at all. Although it would be our intent that we would have that accomplished before the end of the year and the jurisdictions billed out for their appropriate shares. It was previously communicated to us through BSPRA that they had set an October 31st deadline for memberships, and I have been in communication with BSPRA, let them know of the timeline that we are working on and the meeting date challenges that we need to clear, and they have agreed to accommodate our timeline and our working schedule. So it is good that they are willing to work with us. I do want to make clear that this membership is a 12-month membership based on when the fee is received. It is not an auto-renewing membership. That's something that we would have to initiate. So as we approach that ending date of the 12-month membership, that would allow us all to take a step back, assess what benefits being members in the program has provided us through the year, and then determine whether or not those benefits are substantial enough to pursue renewal in the program. So this no way ties us to Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority or to their boards. It does not tie us to their project ID, their corridor ID project. This is just solely a 12-month membership in a program that they are offering to assist communities in developing and finding resources for planning of passenger rail service. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to bring to the board, but if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Are there any questions? Doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
But you get to stay there.
Okay, I'll stay here.
Next, item 11 is a 2023-2024 UPWP administrative modification. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair Schmitz. I am going to see if I'm more successful at sharing my screen today than I was yesterday. Why does it not share for me? Okay. So what I'm sharing on screen, hopefully members of the public and those joining us online can see this administrative modification to the current UPWP. What this is it is a funds transfer within Task 102 of the current and active 2024 UPWP to include the government partner program activity and funds. Without including it into the UPWP, we would not be able to send out a payment. We wouldn't be able to participate in any of the activities for the GPP. So this is our first necessary step as an MPO. The funds transfer is going to be for a total of $6,000. As we talked about before, that's going to be $4,800 federal amount and $1,200 local share provided by the jurisdictions. The transfer is going to take place entirely within Task 102, and because the amount falls below that 10% threshold, This is just an administrative modification. It's basically already done, and we're informing the policy board today of this action, along with our state oversight and our federal oversight, who will be informed as well. Again, the total amount is $6,000. Federal share, $4,800. You can see the breakdown on the $1,200 local share being at those minimum amounts that we talked about in anticipation that all 5 jurisdictions will participate. However, this can also be changed on a dime if the participation levels change and say we only have 3 of the 5. So again, this is only for informational purposes. This is our first step in participation in the GPP, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
Okay,
Thank you, Rachel. Or thank you, Kim. Item 12 is the 2025-2028 TIP administration modification. Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Give me just one moment. All right, just real quick, this month we processed 5 administrative modifications to our active 2025 through 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. That's this Exhibit G at the end of your packet. Their modifications are simply to move 5 projects located on roadways within the city of Bismarck from funding year 2024 to 2027. These projects were recently moved in the opposite manner per DOT's request in case additional projects were needed to fill out the 24 funding year. But NDDOT has now indicated this was not needed. The projects that they had planned to fund this year were able to go ahead. And so these projects are being returned to fiscal year 2027. So very simple, very quick, just an administrative change for your information. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Doesn't look like it. Is there any other business? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.